Hi folks, Nathan Pierce here with Family Protection Ministries. I am very excited to give you the latest update on things here in Sacramento. If you missed last week, we had some great news about some surprise vetoes from Governor Newsom on some important legislation we tracked throughout the year. So if you haven't checked that out, definitely go back and take a look at it. But today we have some new topics. I'm going to be briefly mentioning the Annex Project at the State Capitol building. We're going to talk about some dates, some philosophical issues behind the role of FPM and the work that we do here in the State Capitol building and what it is that we do defend. And then I'll be talking a little bit about some upcoming events. In the middle of that, we'll be talking a little bit about public versus Christian versus non-Christian education and how that fits into the picture here in California. But let's go ahead and get into it. Thanks. Welcome to the Front Line with FPM, where we talk about California politics, homeschool freedom, parental rights, and the family. I'm your host, Nathan Pierce, and thanks for joining us today. Let's jump right in and see what's going on here on the Front Line. All right, we're going to talk about the Annex Project first real quick. This is the remodel project that is happening right outside the Capitol building in Sacramento. The back of the building, as I refer to it, or the new building, which was attached to the old original State Capitol building, that has been or is being deconstructed, being all torn down, and they're going to rebuild a new building there. At least that's the plan. It's supposed to cost, I don't know, somewhere in the high $500-600 million range, up to $1 billion, somewhere like that. Lots of money to rebuild. That's where the offices of the California state legislators were until recently. Right now, their offices are housed across the street in another building. It's called the Swing Space because it's supposedly temporary. It's a Capitol a legislative and staff office building, and it's a really nice building. It's massive. I'm sure it was extremely expensive, but that's where we did Capitol Day there last year. That's where I deliver letters and have meetings with legislators and their staff, and then and there are some hearing rooms there as well. There are also still hearing rooms in the Capitol building, in the old portion of the building that they're not remodeling right now, and that building it was restored back in the 70s and 80s. It's a very beautiful building. You can still go on tours there. The tours there are very excellent, and I would encourage you to do that. We do provide tours at Capitol Day, so another shout out to Capitol Day if you haven't checked that out. If you haven't been to Capitol Day, you're missing out, really. It's a great opportunity for your family to come learn about the California legislature, how the legislative process works in California, as well as to see the beautiful Capitol building and see how things really work there. There's a lot of history there, and also you can participate in learning about advocacy, how you can make a difference in our state government, and in local and federal government as well. There's also the opportunity to actually get involved in protecting homeschool freedoms right there, as we have need for engagement with actual legislators and their staff. So I would encourage you to check out Capitol Day. You can visit our website, fpmca.org, to learn more about Capitol Day. And so the Annex Project, as I was mentioning, it's undergoing a major overhaul. They're tearing down the whole building, and they're going to supposedly be rebuilding a new building. They're still in tearing down phase. That's been going on for some time, a couple of years, and it's expected that it will be a number of years before that's rebuilt completely. Currently, there's a good portion of the Capitol grounds around the Capitol building that are inaccessible because of the construction that's happening there. So, but you still can go inside the Capitol building itself, the old, beautiful building with the dome on top. That's still accessible, and you can go in there and you can do tours, and it's really great. Okay, so moving on from the Annex Project, I mentioned that partly because of Capitol Day and how it affects Capitol Day. We typically will do some things inside the Capitol building, and still that is a beautiful place to be, but we also do legislative office visits and some stuff in the swing space building, as well as do our main presentations and training in an offsite place, which this year will be the same scenario as last year. So we're looking forward to that. It's coming up in January 17th, 18th, 19th. 17th will be our training. The 18th will be our Capitol visit, and the 17th will be our training. 18th will be our Capitol visit, and the 19th will be our sort of our wrap up. Where do we go from here? Advocacy from home, what you can do from your local area to make a difference, and sort of a debrief of how your visits went at the state capitol if you were involved in that part of it. So we will have a great lineup of speakers. I'm really excited about who we've got coming already, and so I'm looking forward to Capitol Day this year. It's really going to be great. Next, I want to talk about a couple of dates that are coming up. Right now, as you may know, the legislative process is on hold right now. The legislature is on recess until January. So right now they're taking a break, and in January they'll be back on January 3rd, which means that before Capitol Day they'll have already been going for a couple of weeks. January 3rd. So what does that mean? What are they going to be doing on January 3rd? Well, January 3rd is when they come back. They have their sort of back from recess meeting on the floor, both of the Assembly and the California State Senate. All legislators should be in town for that. It'll be, all 40 senators, all 80 Assembly members will be back in town, and they will be introducing bills, even perhaps likely on day one. So on January 3rd, and in the days shortly following that, 3rd, 4th, 5th, we should expect to see probably somewhere between 200 to 500 bills introduced right from the get-go. And some of those are probably going to be bills or versions of bills that didn't make it through the process this year. If you have followed this channel, you know that this is the second half. We're going into the second half of a 2-year session. California has a 2-year legislative session, so right now we're smack dab in the middle of it. They're taking a break right now, right in the middle of the session, and the second half of the session will start up on January 3rd. So at that point in time, we'll start seeing new bills that we haven't seen before, but we'll also see bills coming back that didn't quite make it through in the first half of the session in 2023, and that they hope to get through with some tweaks to make different people happy. If it ran into some bumps in the road, they can make those tweaks over the break. That's commonly what happens. And then they'll reintroduce those bills in January or February, somewhere in there, and those bills will start going to committee pretty quickly. So then let's see. We've got bills that are going to be coming back reintroduced. We've also got bills that didn't make it through the process, but they're still active. Bills that didn't make it through to the governor's desk this year in 2023, but are still in a committee sitting and waiting and being classified as 2-year bills. One potential bill like that is the mandatory kindergarten bill. That bill is sort of waiting in a committee, and it has potential to come back next year as a 2-year bill. So there's a lot of bills that are in that category that are sort of waiting to have the kinks perhaps worked out over the break, if they need to be changed, or if they were just on hold because they wanted to wait until the 2024, then they might just move forward as is in 2024. All right, so now I want to get into a little bit of sort of philosophy on how we engage in legislation here in California. We are Family Protection Ministries. We protect the family, and we protect the family's rights, the family's ability to function as a family, the way that God designed it, and the way that God God designed parents to be directing their families, to direct the upbringing of their children, things like that. So that's why we are involved in protecting the right of parents to homeschool in California, to be able to provide for their children's upbringing without government interference. So as we do that, we want to protect the right of Christians to raise their children in a way that honors God. But the bigger picture is, from a legal perspective, we want to protect all education. We want to protect everybody's right to homeschool in California, and that's what we do. We protect the right of every parent in California to homeschool their child as they see fit, without government interference. So, non-publicly funded education, and a education that is not restricted by the government. Parents can do what they see is best for their children. And generally speaking, courts have recognized, and governments have recognized for many, many years, that parents are considered to make decisions that are in the best interest of their own children. Parents do make good decisions, and they're the best decisions for children. They're the closest ones to the children. They know the children best. They love the children the most, and they care for the children better than anyone else can. So this is generally speaking. So we want to protect those parents' rights to provide for their children and to provide an education that they see fit for their children. So as we look at education and we look at the government system of education in California and across the nation, and then we look at the other types of education or private education, we look at another set of distinctions, and that is not just public versus private education, but also Christian versus non-Christian education. And there is a significant difference here. There's a difference of what is the purpose of education? Is the purpose of education to bring children face to face with facts and figures and the world around them? Or is the goal of education to bring children face to face with the God who made all these things? In addition to introducing them to the creation, a Christian's view of education is to bring them face to face with God and his attributes and the creation that he has made. Now, the education that is focused on just creation and not the creator, that education is missing the most important aspect of what a Christian's education must contain, and that is God himself. And so when you look at that education that leaves God absent, it's missing the most important element of education. So we want at Family Protection Ministries to be protecting the right of parents and the right in general for any institution, any private institution, to be able to teach education, to educate people, to provide instruction that is based on that foundation. And in fact, it kind of goes back again to the same principle of defending all types of education. We want to protect all education, and in order to do that, we must go back to what pillars do education stand on, and what pillars does homeschooling stand on in terms of legal grounds. And that is parental rights. Homeschooling stands on the pillars of parental rights and religious freedom. And the right of education, a lot of those principles that private education stands on are religious freedoms. A lot of our Supreme Court cases that protect private education in our country and in our state are based on religious freedom principles. And so when we take a step back and we want to protect Christian education, we want to protect all education, we have to look at all these principles, and we have to look at them all together at the same time. And so looking at what we do at FPM, protecting all these things, the right of parents and institutions to be able to teach God's design for the family, that's under significant threat here in California. As you've seen over the last couple of years, the concept of gender, of marriage, of family, those things are under attack. The biblical definition of these things, the way that God designed the family, is under attack. And so we have to be extremely vigilant to be aware of any legislation that goes against these principles, particularly when it comes to private education and when it comes to families and parents and what they're allowed to even speak to their own children. So these are things that we work on. We work on keeping an eye out for any legislation that would impact whether it's Christian education, private campus education, or even higher education institutions and their ability to teach biblical truth, specifically when it comes to the family, to their students. First and foremost, we here at FPM focus on homeschooling. That's upbringing of children, and in our own homes being able to teach them the ways of God. And as I said, that means we take a step back and we protect all of education. But first and foremost, we want to be protecting the right of parents to train, educate, and care for their children without government interference. And that's our focus. And we do this by detecting, analyzing, monitoring, and intervening in all legislation that would impact private homeschooling in the state of California. That's what we're about here at FPM. And if you're interested in learning more about how we do that and what we do, I would encourage you to check out our advocacy series on YouTube, or come to Capitol Day, because you will learn so much at Capitol Day, both about what we do, how we do it, but how you can get involved. So finally, I want to mention some upcoming events that we have coming up in California. Specifically this fall. Obviously, I mentioned Capitol Day already. That's coming up here in Sacramento in January, and I would encourage you to apply for that on our website. It's an application. Not anybody can come to that event. It's a very limited seating event. We always fill up, so I would encourage you to apply first as soon as you can. That's on our website, fpmca.org, and click on Capitol Day. But we also have some other events coming up, and specifically the next set of events coming up are a statewide speaking tour. It will be myself, Andrew Poudois, a couple of other speakers are going to be doing what CHEA calls a whistle-stop tour with Andrew Poudois. And the purpose of this event is to teach people about what's going on in California and how they can get involved with CHEA, and also to really strengthen the homeschool community in the state of California. We need people to be engaged, and so I will be speaking on the importance of homeschool advocacy, homeschool freedom, and so we hope you'll join us. We're doing 6 events in 5 days. This is coming up in November. So in Temecula, in November, Temecula will be there on the 14th. And then we're heading up to Visalia, November 15th, San Jose, November 16th, Santa Rosa, November 17th, Redding, November 18th, and then we'll head back to Sacramento on November 18th as well. So we hope you can join us for one of those or more. You can find more out about that on our website at fpmca.org, and we'd love to see you there. So hope you can make it, and until next time, God bless you. Thanks for joining us for this episode of The Front Line with FPM. For more information about the topics we discuss here, check out Family Protection Ministries at fpmca.org and subscribe to our channel.